with various crimes involving his death. I want to go to Steve Rogers now, former police detective. We heard today from the Fraternal Order of Police. We also heard from a representative in the Baltimore Police Department, all backing these 6 officers, questioning how quickly these charges were brought to bear, questioning some other things, and of course alluding to the idea perhaps that this was a politically influenced mob decision sort of thing. Where do you stand on this?
Charles, look, if these police officers committed these acts, sure, they should be dealt with accordingly. However, therein lies the missing word, if. The prosecutor didn't use the word if. The mayor didn't use the word if. No one really used the word if. This is not justice. I have to agree with the FOP in this case, is that this is, as far as I'm concerned, a politically motivated decision to make sure America wasn't going to burn tonight. No one wants to say it. I'm saying. And
to your point, I think I saw a couple of press conferences, and I saw where Marilyn Mosby had the opportunity to say those words, and she chose probable cause. Is that business as usual?
Well.
I mean, do the prosecutors come out and say, no, this absolutely happened, or do they default to probable cause?
No, it was handled from the beginning poorly, all right? The fact of the matter is that, and I want to underscore this, police officers would agree that if in fact they committed these acts, they don't deserve to wear a badge. But these men deserve justice. What justice are we talking about? One brand of justice, mob justice, or are we going to let the system work? Did you hear what your reporter said? He said that people are telling him if there is an acquittal, the city's going to burn. So already this case has been prejudged. They need to send it to a special prosecutor.
All right, now, Dr. Bodden, it feels like we're being set up for one of these cases that by the time it's over, we'll all be mini Dr. Boddens, okay? We'll all know all about neck injuries and spinal cord columns. I mean, because it feels like it's all going to come down to when Freddie was hurt, where he was hurt, and the degree of the injuries when they got worse.
Yeah, and the autopsy report has to be released. The prosecutor said that it happened in the van, but there's no basis for first of all, she says it was a fractured spine. So we assume that's correct, even though we haven't seen it. It's very unusual to get a fractured spine in the circumstances in which this young fellow was. It could have happened that during the restraint, there was an injury to the spinal cord. And instead of putting a neck brace on, if an ambulance had been called because they were dragging his feet and all.
This is before they put him in the van.
Before they put him in, before they put him in the van, they put a neck brace on. Other injuries could have occurred then in the van once it got started outside of the van.
And Paul, I mean, we all saw video and it's sort of extraordinary because there were times before as they were putting him in the van where he looked like he did go limp.
There was something, look, there's something up there, and that's what they're going to be looking at. They're going to be looking at from the time that the police started their interaction with him until he came out of that van in the condition that he was in. At any one of those stages, something could have happened. And obviously, if something happened before he was put in the van, one might think that had to do with some excessive force that was used on him, and not the van itself from the rough ride.
Charles, back to the prosecutorial dynamic, because I like that you raised the term probable cause. I mean, there's a big difference between probable cause and beyond a reasonable doubt. There are ethical debates. Should a prosecutor really go forward with a case only when they believe it's beyond a reasonable doubt? I mean, that's part of the thinking of a prosecutor. So the point you made, which I think you're 100% right, is that on some level it provides a little bit of cover to say probably.
But Doug, you made a very important point before, and it should not escape us. You talked about the economy. Right. The anger at the police, I get. They're the first government people that people come in contact with. But, Charles, the people should be angry at the politicians for all these years that promised them so much and gave them so little. And those cops out on the street, they're following orders. They have to live by the laws that are made by these politicians. I feel sorry for the people of Baltimore. They've got a good, genuine gripe about the economy there. But it's the politicians' fault, not the cops.
And they're mixing it all together.
Yes, they are.
Charles, one of the interesting things over the years that I've been involved in and seen a number of these situations where people die in police encounters, rarely is any police officer arrested, but it's even rarer for them to be found guilty.
Why?
Because jurors don't like to find police officers who do their job with a uniform on, to find, no matter how bad they may have acted, to find them guilty.
And I'm going to let you jump in 1 second, Paul. To that point, I think Freddie Gray had been arrested at least 22 times.
Really?
I want to let's listen to the sound from the police union, and when we come back, we'll find out from you, Doug, if that's admissible or not. But let's listen to what the police union had to say.
In my 20 years career as a law enforcement officer and 16 years as an attorney, I have never seen such a hurried rush to file criminal charges, which I believe are driven by forces which are separate and apart from the application of law and the facts of this case as we know them.
All right, so, Paul, you see where we know where the police are coming from. We see everything. How do you think it's all going to play? I mean, you gave us all the different possible scenarios. How do you think it's going to look?
We have to take a step back. This may be motivated purely by politics. It may be motivated purely by seeking to protect the cities from burning. And you know what? That's not necessarily right, because justice should be justice. But look, in Ferguson, they found that officer not guilty. In Staten Island, they found that officer not guilty. Give the system a chance. There's going to be bumps along the road. There's going to be political people. There's going to be union people taking positions. Give the system a chance. At one point, there's going to be a jury of these officers' peers in Baltimore County, which is going to include black and white people. And they're going to get all the evidence when that time comes, and then let justice fall.
Real quick, Doug, what is the prosecution going to have to convince these people of, this jury?
As discussed, it's going to be difficult because there's a number of swirling notions. Is this civil versus criminal? I mean, how do you get from negligence all the way up to murder? And they're going to have a tough time. But people wiser than I have said, Paul just repeated it. The President of the United States said it, got to let the system run its course. I understand Steve's frustration about jumping in quick, but the case is far from over.
Send it to a special prosecutor.
It's far from over.
That's the easiest way.
I think that's all done. The wheels are in motion. We're going to see how it works. I hope we all can respect the justice system. The criminal justice system. It's not perfect, but I think it's the best one in the world. Guys, thank you very much. Dr. Botten, Doug, Paul, and Steve, you're fantastic.
My
really
pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
By the way, Freddie Grace.